There's a noticeable shift underway in the overall weather pattern across Europe, and it's becoming more evident with each passing system. Thanks for joining me. Today we're taking a closer look at how this setup is evolving and what it means going forward. For several weeks, much of the storm activity has been diving into Portugal and Spain, repeatedly targeting the Iberian Peninsula with unsettled conditions. But now we're watching that track gradually lift northward. This is something we've been hinting at recently, and the latest data continues to support that transition. Instead of storms pushing deep into southern Spain and southern Portugal, they're beginning to curve further north across the Atlantic before moving into Ireland, the UK, and France. That change alone alters who sees the heaviest rain and snow over the next 7 days. When we examine the broader precipitation outlook, we're starting to see below-average rainfall showing up in parts of central and southern Iberia. That is a significant difference compared to the persistent wet pattern we've had in place for over a month. Northern Portugal and far northern Spain may still catch occasional systems, but overall the signal is drier there. Meanwhile, above-average precipitation begins expanding across France, northern Italy, Switzerland, Austria, and into the Balkans. That's where the active corridor is shifting. Scandinavia, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland remains relatively quieter in comparison, although not completely dry. The main storm energy simply isn't locking in that far north yet. It's more of a Central European focus. Temperature-wise, it is still winter, and the overall pattern reflects that. There will be brief, milder pockets ahead of each system, particularly in Western Europe, but colder air filters in behind these disturbances. Areas shaded cooler than average stretch through parts of Central and Eastern Europe at times, especially where snowfall is ongoing. It's not extreme Arctic air, but it is enough to support accumulating snow in the right places. Now, looking at the next system organizing to the west, you can already see how it behaves differently compared to earlier storms. Rather than dropping sharply south toward the Azores and then into southern Spain, this one lifts toward Ireland and the United Kingdom. By Tuesday into Wednesday, rain begins spreading into Ireland and western sections of England and Wales. Some higher elevations could mix with or briefly change to snow, but for most, it's a rain event initially. As the system presses eastward into France, colder air wrapping in from the north allows snow to develop over higher terrain. Switzerland and Austria once again find themselves in a favorable position for heavier snowfall. The Alps continue to act as a focal point, with significant accumulations possible at elevation. Southern Germany, especially near the Alpine border, may also see accumulating snow as the system moves through midweek. Further southeast, the Balkans remain active. Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia, Serbia, and surrounding areas are positioned for additional rounds of rain, and depending on elevation, snow as well. Romania and Bulgaria will likely see a mix, with snow more dominant in higher terrain and rain at lower levels. Turkey and parts of Greece continue to experience periods of rain as energy pivots through southeastern Europe. Italy also stays unsettled. Northern and central regions deal with steady precipitation, snow in the mountains, and rain in lower elevations. With repeated systems tracking through similar areas, localized flooding cannot be ruled out, especially where rainfall totals begin to add up over several days. Back toward the UK, as the system slides by, England and Wales may see moderate rainfall totals, while Scotland, particularly the Highlands, could pick up some snow. Ireland appears to avoid the most intense precipitation, but still sees measurable rain. Denmark and the Netherlands remain near the northern edge of the system, seeing lighter amounts overall. When we look at projected snow totals over the next week, the most significant accumulations remain concentrated across the Alps, Switzerland, Austria, northern Italy, with additional snow extending into portions of the Balkans. Some higher elevations could measure impressive totals once again. Lower elevations see more variability depending on temperature profiles. Rainfall totals show France standing out midweek, with the potential for heavier bands setting up. Parts of the Balkans could also record substantial rainfall, particularly where storms repeat over the same corridor. Monitoring rivers and localized flood-prone areas will be important as this pattern continues. The key takeaway here is that the dominant southern storm track that has controlled much of Iberia is weakening. Storms are no longer consistently diving deep into southern Spain. Instead, they are lifting northward and spreading impacts across a broader portion of Europe. It's not a completely dry pattern for the south, but it is a noticeable shift in focus. And this doesn't appear to be a one-system event. Another disturbance follows closely behind, reinforcing this more northerly trajectory. That suggests the transition is not temporary. Europe is entering a more dynamic stretch where central regions see more consistent activity. So, while conditions vary from country to country, the larger scale story is clear. The atmospheric setup is reorganizing. The storm corridor is migrating north, the Alps remain snowy, the Balkans stay wet and occasionally wintry, and Western Europe becomes more active again. We'll continue to monitor how quickly this shift progresses and whether it strengthens further in the coming days. Thanks for staying updated, and we'll keep tracking it together.